Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
This is Straight No Chaser Talk Radio. We're just getting started. Straight No Chaser Talk Radio.
He's drinking that with no chaser.
Welcome to Straight No Chaser. Welcome. It's the Chief, and I'm on here tonight, of course, with everybody's favorite person. Nope, it's not Thin Bad. It is your girl, Shannon. How you doing, Shannon?
I'm good. How you doing tonight?
Good. Of course, we can't start a show without Shannon having her theme music. And, of course, now that Shannon has had her accolades to herself, I think we can get started. Thin Bad won't be joining us tonight, but we do have some folks here that really brought a lot of energy to the show last time. And we're talking about Bill Steen and Wyvetra Jordon. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you know what we're talking about. And so last time we had Bill Steen on the show, and he was giving out some great advice, and we got a lot of feedback and we got a lot of comments about the show. So we decided that we were going to do it again. Isn't that right, Shannon?
Yes.
So with that being said, we're going to talk about houses again. You know what we have to do, Brother Steen? We're going to have some house music since we're talking about houses. Isn't that right, Wyvetra? So, right. Joining us live tonight, we have Wyvetra Jordon from Home Team Realty back in my great state of Maryland. And we also have Bill Steen from GPS Solutions, who are going to talk to us tonight about building generational wealth. And we're going to do it part 2 tonight. Last week, Bill covered some incredible things. And of course, we've had Wyvetra on the show several times, giving information about how you can become a first-time home buyer, how you can flip a house. And so these are all the things that lead to generational wealth. And so it's so important, particularly now that we're in a pandemic environment and people are concerned about their jobs and other types of financial hardship, that we have this conversation to see how we can make these things happen. So Steen and Wyvetra, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. And we're so happy to have you all back here. And as always, we're hoping that you're going to give us some incredible information like you did the last time. So I'm going to start right off by getting back to what we were talking about on our last show. Steen ended with talking about some of the options for folks who may have had some credit issues and other things being able to qualify to buy a home. And he just about covered that up. And we were hoping that you all could continue with some of the other building generational wealth tips that you were beginning to get into. So I'm going to turn it over to you and Bill.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am so happy to be back. Building generational wealth is the reason that I am in real estate. Okay. Because helping our community get back on their feet and or extend the wealth that they already have is super important. And I think there are a lot of misnomers about how to go about that. And there's some things that we just don't know, right? So I just want to start with kind of where I left off. There was one thing I did want to talk about. Of course, houses is my thing. We're the home team. So, our goal is to bring you home as often as possible. So I wanted to just mention, you mentioned first-time home buyers, and a lot of our first-time home buyers think that they have to go through a first-time home buyer program, right? An extensive program in order to get qualified to become a first-time home buyer. And that is not true. Some programs take you through a long process. They want to be all up in your business, whether that's they want to see every time you write a check or every time you do anything with your credit cards. And for a lot of people, most people, that's not necessary. And you basically, make the process longer than you have to. you do when you are a first-time homebuyer, if you're getting first-time homebuyer programs, that is dictated by your lender. And that program is 8 hours, not 6 months. Okay, so you don't have to sit for 6 months before you can buy a house. So you want to get into a strategy session with a realtor that you trust so that you can learn about exactly what you need to do. You can get the real facts, right? Instead of things that you might hear or read on the internet. There's a lot of information on the internet, and a lot of it is, is kind of convoluted. So you want to make sure, just talk with a trusted realtor so you can get the real facts. And you do not need to be in a 6-month program to get a house at all. So I wanted to share that. And then I'm going to turn it over to Steen to talk about to Mr. William Steen, because he is a proud partner of mine in helping our people get back to home ownership. And so I want to turn it over to him so that he can talk about some, and I'll fill in as you go, sir.
And it's always great to see you, and Chief, thank you, and Shannon, thank you very much for having me back.
Sure, good to have you.
Good to have you.
For your listeners, I don't know if you could tell last time, and certainly I know you've had Wyvetra on the show a couple of times, but one thing that joins us more than anything else is our passion to help people.
Sure.
And I am all about educating folks on just trying to be better than where you are.
Sure. And
the sharing of information, and a lot of times I get ridiculed because the information that I obtained, I paid for. I paid a hefty price. I paid tuition for seminars and education and training, and but it was so impactful for me, and it's so simple, if you will, that I could not help but sharing it or to share it. So, as always, Chief, of course, I have to start off pleasing my lawyers.
Sure.
So I must say that I am not representing myself as a certified financial counselor or tax advisor or even a real estate professional. I am sharing information only on the tools and techniques that I have and that are working for me and my company. It is my suggestion and it is my request that you that are listening conduct your own research, consult your own certified professional to find out more about any of the topics that are being discussed here today. So that makes the lawyers happy.
Now it's
one of the things that I want to...
Great advice.
Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure that nobody gets it misunderstood, that I cannot give you step-by-step instructions because I'm not a certified professional. But I can give you the helicopter view of things that are working, and then you can take that information to the internet or to whatever your tools are to research.
Sure.
and find out more about it. And that's the difference between me and Miss Jordon. Mrs. Jordon is a real estate professional. She can give you professional advice on the real estate market. And that's why we are partners, because I'm an investor. I am just like everybody that's listening that just took an opportunity, made it work, and decided to move forward with it. So I want to make sure that is understood. One of the things that we talked about... I get to say
all the things that he won't.
That's right. He's
but
not
before we go
say.
into that, I do have a couple of questions real quick.
Okay.
One, Tracy wants to know, why do people make you sit for 6 months to however long in those first-time home buyer programs?
Some of the programs aren't necessarily built for us. Okay, so they take minority communities through a much longer process than they do non-minority communities. So you have some programs that will require you, if you've never owned a home before, to save, which is not a bad thing, right? But to save up as if you're paying rent. Like if you're not paying rent and you're just living at home, they want you to save up a year's worth of what you would be paying in rent.
What your mortgage would be.
Right?
Okay.
What your mortgage would be. Not necessarily a bad thing, but also not necessary. And they elongate the process by, help taking you through a lot of different steps. They want to see most times they want to see every month they want you to come in, they want you to see, they want to see your bank statements. And if you spent a certain amount over, or if you haven't saved, then they extend that another month. And so that's not necessary. If you are financially sound, if you are capable of budgeting your own money, you don't need a program telling you to do that. However, a lot of people are very much very program. They desire somebody to, take them in and do that. If that's what you desire, then that's okay, but it's not necessary.
Okay. One more question.
I want to, Shannon, let me just jump in there. And Wyvetra, I just want to piggyback on that. I think also a lot of it has to do about changing the mentality of a person. And that's what I'm seeing in my industry where I do the rent to own. A lot of folks come in as renters, never, ever owning, and they have a renter's mentality. So I have to really break down that mentality and turn it into an owner's mentality. And sometimes that takes, now, I'm not going to say it takes 6 months, but I think some of the programs, when they initially put it together, it was spent on breaking down a mindset and then rebuilding it into a new mindset. Wyvetra, how was that? Was that politically correct enough?
Well, I think that's right. Some though for programs like yours, for programs like that are just first time home buyer, like programs. Get in. Let me tell you about what it takes to become a first time home buyer. It's unnecessarily extended.
And just in case our viewers didn't tune in with us last week, what's the difference in between the two programs? Because your program was more for rent to own, correct?
My program is rent to own, and my program are for the people that do not qualify for Wyvetra's program. So my slogan is, we say yes when others say no.
Okay. Next question. Are you considered a first-time home buyer if you had a foreclosure or a short sale 3 years or more ago?
Okay. So from a state-by-state perspective, if you've ever owned a home or been on the deed of a home, you are not considered a first-time home buyer from the state standpoint, meaning you cannot get state benefits, okay? Your state tax credit, your state tax waiver, whatever your state offers as a first-time home buyer. However, from a program perspective, a first-time home buyer program, a grant, a specific loan program, most of those are, 3 to 5 years. If you haven't owned a home in, 3 to 5 years or been on the deed of a home 3 to 5 years, then, and I say 3 to 5 because some states is 3, some states, the minimum is 5. But if you have not, for some programs, let me say programs, not states. If it's, anywhere between 3 and 5 years, then you are eligible for first time home buyer benefits again, from a program perspective, grants, loan programs.
Okay.
So that's the difference. But if you've ever, and this is a good point, because a lot of, as we're talking about building generational wealth, a lot of parents put their kids on their deeds, right? Because they're like, okay, I want my kid to have this house. And later I want, them to have something in their name. When you do that, you actually, they lose their first time home buyer state benefit. Because now they're considered to, even if you did it before they were 18, they're on the deed or mortgage of a home, not a mortgage, of course, if they were under 18. But yes, so you want to make sure that you think that through before adding your kids in that way. There are other ways to do that, which William can talk about more, like, trust accounts and things like that allow you to still include your family and build that generational wealth without them missing out on another benefit.
Okay.
And the point that I wanted to drive home was something we discussed right before we came on the air, is that if you have a desire to be a homeowner, then there is a program out there. It may take a little time, but if you have that desire to be a homeowner, you pretty much can be a homeowner. And it's just about finding the right network, finding the right program. So for you, Chief, when you said a lot of people were shocked that, they thought they were out of the game because of circumstances and situations that they encountered, I want to